So now that we've broken this down into, different domains that we might compare, or maybe it's steps, or maybe it's a timeline, who knows? We need to have some sort of breakdown of categories or domains that we're comparing, or steps in time. And this flat style flag is a pretty popular technique for doing that. And the idea is that you make just one of these, and then you copy and paste it and change the text. Okay, so we're going to redo that from scratch here, but I'm going to strongly recommend that before you start doing any illustration work on top of the general layout that we've created, that you select all of it and you hit Command 2, which is going to lock all of those objects. So if you ever did need to undo that, you can either do it through the Layers panel, or you can go to Unlock All. Lots of ways to do that. Okay, but let's go ahead and just recreate this right here. And notice that I still have Snap to Grid turned on. Okay, so I'll start out with just a sort of a general rectangle there. And we can use white again. Maybe this one is a little bit skinnier, that's fine. And what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna just draw another one that's the same sort of height. And we want sort of a nice 45 that we might be able to draw in here. So I'm gonna take the pen tool and just draw a triangle on top. And I want that triangle to be a slightly, darker color. So we could do that, maybe up in here with a color picker, right? That looks pretty good. Now, if you did want to have 3 steps in value, like let's say this is gonna be a lighter gray, you're gonna have to reorder some layers. So just to explain, if I go in here and let's say I want a slightly lighter, an in-between gray, you can see that my order's gotten a little bit goofed up here. So you might have to, go from back to front or do a little bit of rearranging, which is fine. Okay, I'm gonna just say, let's make this just a wee bit darker. Okay, that feels good. Now what I wanna do is I wanna have an anchor point here so I can pull in. Now, because this is on the grid, when I go to my pen tool and click, notice that it puts that point right in the middle because it's on the grid. And I can hit the right arrow and shazam, I now have my little flag element. Okay, now I want to take this shape and this shape and I want it to go over here. So I'll select both and I'm going to Option drag it over and I'm going to flip it by going to the properties and flip horizontal. And I'll just use the arrows to nudge that over. Okay, so I've got my nice little flag. And again, it's a slightly different style. It's got 3 values instead of 2. And now we want to put in some text. So this is just placeholder text. So we're going to just click and, whatever domain it might be, or maybe it's a steps. So step 1. Yeah, so maybe we're doing a multi-step infographic. And, we could probably find a more interesting looking font. Let's make it Bungee. Okay, so I go to Bungee and we get in there and we crank up the size and we align it to the middle. Now here's where we're going to run into a problem. I can't make this snap so that it's in the middle. So here you do have some options. Probably the easiest would just be to unsnap the grid at this point, okay? Notice that I also probably want it to be center aligned so that each one of these, is exactly in the middle there. So now that I've got all that, what I'm gonna do is select all of this, and we could, obviously have done a different color or whatever we wanted there. I'm gonna select all of it and I'm going to go back and turn on Snap to Grid, and I can just Option drag the whole group, right? And I could go in there later, grab the type tool and say this is gonna be step 2 or step 3, right? And now I can have, how to make the, perfect peanut butter and jelly sandwich or whatever it is I'm gonna make. I can have it broken up into nice clean steps. Okay, so a few tricks there on illustration or flags to break down your infographic into clearly defined categories or steps.